Hello! This is going to be a series of tips and guidelines that you can try to follow that will hopefully help you with surviving and potentially winning against group fights. You know, 3v1s, gank squads, there's a lot of situations where you're going to be outnumbered. Being outnumbered is basically the default in this game. I'm going to be using footage from actual gank squads and just free dudes going through the game pretty interchangeably. The rules and fundamentals of fighting outnumbered are pretty similar across them, but I will try to point out where you're going to need to adjust your strategy against a gank squad, depending how aggressive they are, whether or not they're just sitting at the fucking bonfire or something like that. All of the footage, for demonstration's sake, is going to be either 3v1 or 2v1 with a blue or another phantom on the way. I mean, duh, but I just want to get that disclaimer out there. The exception is, of course, the B-roll that you're seeing on the screen now. This is just some footage that I can talk over while I'm getting my intro going. Second disclaimer, this game is definitely not an exact science when it comes to PvP, at least in something with so many variables like an invasion with a lot of people in it. So none of this advice is, 100% concrete. There are going to be situations where you want to break the guidelines and maybe get a win by doing that, but in 90% of cases these are going to be true. The other 10% is going to be like, you focus down the host and roll catch them despite there being two guys on your ass and that somehow works. Most of the time it doesn't, but sometimes it does, and that's the kind of examples I want you to keep in the back of your mind when I'm going through this, because they're not going to be fully formed, fully fucking unbreakable. Do what you want, I'm not going to stop you. Anyway, I'm going to go on to the first category of tips and guidelines now, and that is going to be camera and positioning. Okay, so why am I clumping these two together? Well, it's because most of the time they end up being the same thing. Keeping on top of your camera and looking around is going to end up with you putting your feet in the right position. Alright, let's say you were looking at this group of players, for example, and this blue here broke off to try and flank you. You can't physically keep looking at all of them where you are. You simply don't have a big enough cone of sight. If you turn to look at the blue, you're going to lose sight of the host. It's going to end with you awkwardly glancing back and forth. It's going to be a pain in the ass, and it's eventually going to go sideways. But if you walk off to the left, you can start seeing them all again. Once you're consciously trying to keep as many threats in your sight at once, you won't need to worry so much about how best to circle around and do your spacing and all that. It'll kind of start to fall into place on its own. Because of this, it is best if you play unlocked right up until you're in a moment where you're actively fighting and trying to hit someone. You don't want to be locked on when you're just doing footsies or whatever. Playing locked on 100% of the time is a habit that a lot of new players fall into, and you need to break that habit. So just remove your lock on, scan the area often, and if you can't reposition well due to lava or pits or walls or whatever, be sure to at least try and glance over at that stray phantom as often as you can. It's very hard to dodge moves that you can't see. Audio cues are great and they will help you a lot, but you still need to look occasionally. Some moves, like jumping attacks, can just fall right on top of you and you're not going to know unless you look. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at this clip for demonstration. Notice how this phantom runs around to the side of me where I can't see him. Instead of moving in on the host right here, or maybe circling around with him, I decide to keep moving in the opposite direction of the phantom. It brings them both closer together, makes it easier for me to see. My positioning is looking pretty good. Now look what happens when instead I lock onto the Phantom and I don't keep my eyes on the host. Bam. Moonveil to the side. I get incredibly lucky here. I think that either the sword swing hit me and the beam missed, or a single whip hit me and the Moonveil whiffed completely, or one of these clowns is just straight up not upgrading their weapon. I don't know what happened. Either way, I get away pretty scot-free, and I shouldn't have. My invasion would have ended right here in every other timeline. So let that be a lesson to you. Keep your eyes open. Of course, right after this, I do a better job of looking at them and I secure the kill. Here's another example where I really do pay for my tunnel vision and just lose the entire invasion because of it. I'm getting ganked pretty badly, there's 3 dudes on my tail, and for the most part it seems to be going alright at the start. But I'm gonna make a pretty big mistake here. It's a big mistake that I think we all make as invaders. I focus down on the host. I ignore everything going on behind me. I just try to make a beeline for that guy's ass. And I paid the price for it. There's 2 dudes slicing away at me from behind and I just immediately did. That is why you need to make proper use of your camera and keep looking around. Don't let yourself get these narrow vision, okay? Let's move on to the next point. Escape routes. Once again, I'm tricking you, because it's actually 2 related topics clumped up again. There's one advantage that you have over the average gank lord. You get to choose your battles. Most gankers are either unrelentingly aggressive or easy enough to draw out by throwing projectiles or running through and past them. Of course, there are exceptions. Sometimes you get some real fun-loving folk that just stand in one place and absolutely will not come after you, and sometimes you invade in Leonia of the Lakes. But yeah, either way, a lot of the time that you spend in a group fight is going to inevitably be spent backpedaling away from the fight. Make use of it. When you do turn around to fight, make sure you do it in environments that either fuck over the enemy's movement or give you a safe spot to take cover and heal. Like in this clip that you're seeing, for example, I only turn around and actually fight them after I've gone over this rock ledge, because I know it'll slow down the Phantom, it'll split them up maybe, whatever it does, it'll reduce the pressure on me a little bit, so I can actually get something done. There's a couple of features that you should look for when you pick your fights. Okay, if you see any of these around, then it might be a good spot to stop and attack for a little bit. If you don't see any of these around, you probably just want to keep moving. Firstly, rock ledges. Obviously, I just showed you that. They're relatively difficult to climb over. They can be good for splitting people up. I'm sure I don't need to go over that too much. Trees. This is another common one that you'll see in the open world. Even if it's just a handful of them, it's good to block line of sight so that you can get projectiles off of you. A lot of the time, in a group fight or a gank or whatever, there's going to be a sorcerer at the back being an absolute pain in the ass. And if you've got a handful of trees with you, that guy is essentially out of the fight for a little bit, which is great. In dungeons, any sorts of corners, doorways, anywhere where you can break line of sight with them while still being able to see around is excellent. It's a great spot to ambush people, it's a great way to split people up, and a lot of the time you'll actually end up in stalemates in doorways. You'll see that quite often because they're scared to go through, and why wouldn't they be? It's gonna hurt them with the numbers advantage. Only like 1 or 2 people can hit you at a time if they're trying to squeeze through a door. The obvious one to look for is enemy NPCs. This is the one that you'll always hear new players complaining about, invaders hiding behind enemies. It's pretty good. I don't need to tell you that. It's very good to have an NPC to break up all the attention that's on you, give you a chance to put some work in. But in the reality of fighting gank squads, a lot of the time there won't be any enemies nearby, or if there are, they'll be dead. So make sure that you know whether or not they're alive before you try to drag the host over to them, and don't get too reliant on them. Like I said, a lot of the time they're just straight up not there, or they'll be a big ass lion or a demon or something that will just hit you instead and potentially kill you, which is always a bad feeling. Alright, this is probably the number one that you will recognize: ledges. Throwing yourself off a ledge is a very easy way to escape danger as an invader, because of the way that combat works in this game and in the Souls series. Virtually no attacks are designed to hit below you, and if the opponent chases you down, they lose access to like 90% of the ways they can chase you. All they can do if they follow you down is a jumping attack, which most of the time you will just roll and dodge and get a free heal. Additionally, if it's a big ledge, a lot of players are going to be hesitant to follow you for obvious reasons, which is even better because that means you can escape, you can heal up safely, maybe use a phantom finger or climb back up the stairs, just get a bit to, get your bearings again. This is honestly the best way to escape if you're in a dungeon. Lindell is a really good place for throwing yourself off ledges. In the open world, you don't get a lot of chances to use this, which is kind of a pain in the ass. You might have gathered by now, but open world is just very bad for finding cover. Like I said, your best options are ledges and trees. In dungeons, there's a lot more to work with, because like I said, you have doorways, you have these big drops, and things are much better. If you're fighting a gank squad, chances are they will take you somewhere that is flat in the open world, which is, I'm sorry about that, there's not a lot you can do. But do remember, the next time you see a ledge and you're fighting a group and you're in trouble, just throw yourself off it. Just take the plunge, you won't die. But anyway, let's start applying all of this and piecing it all together. So here we've got an invasion that I recently did. It's a 3v1, it's in a pretty bad spot, and the immediate first thing I do is I don't pick this fight. Remember what I told you? You gotta pick your fights, you gotta make sure there's some terrain or obstacles or anything nearby you can use, and there is none of that in that room. I know that it's an open, flat area with only one exit that I could use, which is the pipe that I'm currently in. So you bet your ass that I am not moving. This is a lesson for you. If you see 3 people in a room refusing to move, it means they like that room. It means they like their chances of winning in that room, which means that you should not. You should stay the hell out of there, because there's gonna be some shit coming for you. And I find out exactly what that shit is right here. It's a laser to the face. So that just solidifies my decision. I absolutely do not follow them in there, and I get very lucky that this isn't a dedicated gank squad or anything. It seems to just be 3 dudes, because they do choose to jump in that pipe and keep moving along. If this was a gank squad, I would stay here, trade lightning bolts like you just saw. I'd be able to hit the frenzied burst guy, maybe get some damage, maybe encourage them to keep moving. Just gonna skip forward a bit. They're about to jump me right here around this corner. They get the successful ambush, and right now things are looking very dire. I'm low on health, I'm about to die, but frankly, we've got a corner of our own. So we can just go, get a heal, set up an ambush. That's the power of running around a corner in a dungeon. Lets you do shit like that. I'm tunnel visioned here, so I'm about to eat a moon veil. Yep, there it is. But I go around here, keep running past them because I know I shouldn't pick this fight, and it works out because they do end up deciding to disengage. They're gonna walk back, and you'll never guess what room they choose to walk back into. It's a shocker, I know. Just wait for it. You'll be so surprised. Yep, sure enough, we're going back to the exact same room. They have a different flavor of bullshit to try. They're gonna try doing another ambush. Except this guy is not very good at it. He chooses Chilling Mist for some reason. That wouldn't even damage me. So I know he's there now. I'm going to make a quick swap and kill him real quick. This is another lesson. You shouldn't try the same ambush multiple times. The first time the jig is up, you need to move. And this is why, because your opponent can just come around the corner and black flame tornado you and kill you. Obviously that's a really specific example, but you get the idea. You can't reuse an ambush. You gotta keep getting new ones, and that's why you're consistently moving through the level instead of running in a circle, because otherwise you get punished like that. After the phantoms are both gone, it's a really simple method of just kill the host, and that's done. What was previously a very scary 3v1 quickly fell apart because I knew when to pick my fights, and you should too. Okay? That's the number one thing I want to drill in your head. Pick your fights. The last tip that I'm going to give you for today, and it's probably a very obvious tip to you, is punish aggression. The main thing that you're going to see a lot of when you're fighting groups is aggression. They're going to sprint at you like rabid dogs to try and kill you. And that is when you need to strike. You need to punish them every time they start overextending and getting aggressive. This comes in a lot of forms. The turn and burn is the one that you'll probably already know, where you just turn around and whack people while you're running away. It's very hard for them to dodge because they might be queuing up a running attack, or they might just not be paying a lot of attention. You need to divide and conquer. That's another thing. If just one person sprints after you while the others are busy with mobs or running around to flank you or something, that's an opportunity for you to use a weapon art or a spell or whatever and kill them. You'll figure this one out pretty quickly. I don't have too much footage because basically every single footage of a gank is punishing aggression. You saw it multiple times in the past clip. But yeah, that is what you need to remember. Just don't let them try to suffocate you. Every time they sprint at you, that's a chance for you to just take a hit and then dip out. I mean, like, hit them, not take a hit from them, although you will probably do both, let's be honest. I'm going to round up the video with footage of a few gank spanks. I'm going to try and illustrate where I use each of the pieces of advice that I just mentioned. Straight up off the bat, I'm not picking that fight. I'm staying near this little rock ledge because I know the rock ledge will slow him down, and I know that Moog is hiding in the bush there. He's going to fuck me as soon as I go down. So I just buff up, I wait for them, and thankfully I get to draw them out pretty quickly because they're not very patient. The worst thing in the world is a patient gank. Yeah, I go for the Fortis Axe here because they're just sprinting at me. I'm punishing them for doing that. Fat boy falls off the ledge and I get the chance to kill Moog. Great, we're already down from 3 to 2. Sorcerer has showed up, finally, they've finished climbing, and now the fight is not in my favor. I run around for a bit, but I retreat pretty quick because I need to get to better terrain. This isn't very good for me. Yeah, I'm going to run past him here, I believe. Yeah, there I go, backing away again. Getting closer to these trees. The sorcerer is over there. I don't need to worry about him too much. I'm mostly stuck here with the world's fattest helicopter. Yeah, here comes the sorcerer blasting me again, so I keep moving. I put another few trees between me and him, because that will stop him. It stops that laser beam right there. Although if I'm being honest, I don't think it would have hit me. Fat Boy is being careful. He's not overextending. He's not going into my Black Flame Tornado, so I need to find a way to draw him out. And I do it by going after the host here, getting a hit. Instead of roll catching, I go for Fortis Axe, and it pays off because Fat Boy's getting aggressive. He gets one shot, and now the gank is gone. It's just a simple matter of roll catching. I didn't tunnel vision the host when I got a hit on him. I remembered the guidelines, and now I'm going to get a win because of it. It's that simple. Moving on here, we're going right to Mount Galmir. We've got yet another gank to deal with. This one is in some ways better, and in many ways much worse than the previous one. I mean, in terms of skill, the host is kind of garbage, and the Phantom is just trying to use the Rosis axe on me with the skeletons. I don't know why, but I'll take it. There's a Frenzy Spear running at me, but thankfully he's not very smart. Like I said, there's the skeletons. I love them so much, but they're so useless. I honestly just feel bad for this guy trying to hit me with them. Host just does his Frenzy Flame. I trade it with the Eruption, Punish Aggression. It's kind of works out for me. Probably shouldn't have. I think the host stats might be a little low because I did not take as much damage there as I should have. Anyway, now there's a Phantom slinging rocks at me. I don't know where he was, but he's showed up now. I use these little wooden planks for cover, and then I get away from the rock riff. There I am, using the terrain. Like I said, find cover anywhere you can. I don't want to fight them up there in that empty slope. I want to fight them down here. So I chuck a few lightning spears to kind of draw them out. Thankfully, they're very aggressive. The host is not smart. He's going to run right past me. Yeah, there he goes. He hasn't figured out how the tracking on that move works, I guess. I try to roll catch with Eruption, but he's not staying near me. Thankfully, he walks back into the magma, so it's not a complete waste. There's a Moonveil nerd there. I'm keeping my eye on him. I'm not doing a very good job of it, but I am trying. This guy's got Magma Breath as well. Honestly, the more I see this Phantom, the more I love him. Absolute dumbass, but he's my kind of dumbass. Anyway, here's Fortis Axe. He's dead now. I'm telling you, Fortis Axe is good. I've said it in the previous video before, but it's a very good spell. Anyway, the gank is down from 3 to 2. Momentum is starting to move in my favor. This guy doesn't have a lot of health. I don't know why he's not healing yet. I believe he does it here while I'm busy. No, shit, he doesn't. Okay, yeah, there he goes. The host has swapped to an Uggs, but he hasn't figured out how to press the crouch button, so I'm pretty safe. Phantom is going straight in. I believe he's low on FP or something. Because, yeah, there he is. He's out of FP. So I just need to chase him down with my halberd. The host has fucked off somewhere. I believe he's already running away to resummon, if I remember. Yeah, he's already run away. This gank just divided itself for me. I can't really take credit for this one, but I will say taking cover behind the wood helped, picking my terrain well, moving along, and just generally keeping all of them in my line of sight. I probably spent a little more time locked on than I should have, but it's all worked out now. I'm just going to beat the host to death. You already know how this goes. He's going to keep mashing Lion's Claw. I don't know why. Like, he doesn't even dodge, he just Lion's Claws over and over. He tries to trade with me here for some reason. Look, they weren't terribly good at this game. I can't really take credit for that, like I said. But yeah. Follow the guidelines, and things will work out in your favor, and I can prove it in this next clip. This host is literally invisible, completely undetectable. I can't even lock onto him. I can't even predict where he is because he's using a bow instead of melee. Everything in this clip is just pure luck from following the guidelines. There is zero skill involved, zero reaction. It's just my flowchart against his. By all accounts, this should be completely unwinnable. So the immediate first thing I do is flee to this elevator. I need to be able to escape, heal, ambush, all that good stuff, and that elevator is the only place I can possibly do that. I know I also need to punish the phantoms to get them off my back, so I do Fortis Axe. Except, they aren't following me in. My instincts were wrong. Or were they? I have zero idea what's happening, but I know I need to act fast. I try to roll catch the host, but I miss, so I go to the doorway, because if I was escaping, that's where I'd go. The host isn't there, my halberd hits nothing, so I turn around and go for the elevator because I know the host must be heading in that direction, and I'm ready to pull out a black flame or something. I top up my FP, someone has already pressed the button, it's the host. The host is on the elevator with me, I roll off, the host does the same thing, but he misses the landing, keeps panic rolling, goes directly into that pit, and dies immediately. I had no idea what the fuck happened here until I watched the footage back. That's all that I have for you today. Here's all of the tips on the screen so you can screenshot it or just read over it whenever you need to come back to this video or whatever. But basically, unlock your camera, make sure that you can see every fret, and if you can't see everyone, move your ass somewhere else. Plan your route. Only pick fights when there is terrain nearby you can use to take cover or escape. Avoid fighting ganks on their own turf at all costs. And of course, punish aggression. Take advantage of gankers' bloodlust to secure kills, get damage, and prevent yourself from being suffocated. Anyway, that is absolutely the end of the content in this video. I'm just going to let this duel play out to the end because this guy is cool and I want to give a shout out to him. I really appreciate that warming stone. Then after that I'm going to tell you to subscribe, but you already expected that. Come on, you've been here long enough. Okay, bye. Take a look at this graph of subscribers. You will notice that... Oh, hang on, sorry, this is the wrong graph. Let me just... Okay, there we go. You will notice that 100% of subscribers are male. That's why I'm partnering with today's sponsor. Use promo code TOMSKELETON at checkout in order to receive 30% off of your next purchase of estrogen.